You have probably heard me speak about some version of this, which is what we do. One, use case; two, infrastructure; three, community; four, content. And this is cheerleading good ideas. Content is basically our way of amplifying the good stuff that's happening. Because as I like to say, if you look at the startup media today, they primarily focus on two things. One is capital. This company raised this much. And controversy. This company who raised that much has burned to the ground. That's basically what they care about. I am hoping that if we have to get good ideas out there and build that better future that we talk about, somebody has to step up and create the kind of content that you as builders are actually interested in. Right? How did they do this? How did that do? What were you thinking then? What were the things you tried that didn't work before you reached this place that did work? Right? Somebody today also reached out to me and said, like casual conversation mentioned that some billionaire list came out. I don't even know, who knows something, whatever. And the 20 and 21 youngest on it were the Zepto founders, right? And that's what we seem to talk about, how much money people have, but not a lot about sort of, how did they get there? What was the idea? What was happening, right? And then the real insights that come, that are needed to build things, right? And I feel like that's missing. So that's what this is about. I'm talking about this a little more because it's part of what I want to discuss with you all today. When we started, we were saying this, right? That this People+ai is a small team that helps you do big things. And this is really true. All of this is true. All this is something we say publicly. Today, what I wanted to do is actually, with this audience, both online and those who are in the room, actually look inside the hood and actually look inside what our journey has been, what we've understood, what we're trying to do. So the reason why today is because in some sense, we are 1 year old. If I actually look at David or Tanvi, yeah, all of them joined exactly 1 year ago. Like before this, it was literally just me and Asif, who joined with me. Where is he? I don't know. He's outside. So me and Asif, when I was doing the work to even talk about why this should exist, what should happen, pitching that to Nandan and saying that this is there. That was June to about July. And then we hired our first employees in August, Tanvi, David, everybody. So this is we didn't even have an office. We used to do meetings at the house. And then sort of the fellowship launched in September. We started with 10 fellows. 2 of them moved on. One of them sort of found a job almost they were applying to multiple places. Another job came through that paid much more than what we could afford. So she left, and then 1 more. And so these are the 8 fellows that you will also meet today if you haven't met them already. We started doing these school days. We were essentially trying to sort of figure out, I hope all of you all know this. I'm just going to say it in case you all don't. But the people who started this, me and the ideas from Shankar, Pramod, and the support, and then we're all part of that DPI journey, right? Like India Stack, Aadhaar, UPI, etc. So one big thing for our fellows we tried to do was how do we get that knowledge and what they've done in that experience and present it to the fellows and let them build on top of that. So we used to do these school days. We still try to do it. We still try to have bring leaders or people with experience and try to teach things. And we try to now do this across everything, right? We had Deepak Shinoy from Capital Mind. I don't know if you all know him, but he's a famous finance influencer or whatever on Twitter. He's a commentator on all things finance. And he came and he gave a personal finance session, right? So we're still very open to doing this and doing this for the larger community now. If you all also want a school day on something, let us know. We'll arrange something like this and have everybody there. You'll also notice in December, sort of our first infra project we kicked off, which is OCC. Tanvi, who leads this, she'd be here. I think my team is sitting upstairs, so there's more space here for the volunteers. Sandachin was one of our early volunteers who helped, and then he's now in the ministry. He really liked this idea of helping things and building things at scale. So now he's at the Ministry of Social and Justice Welfare. He is now seconding for essentially 2 years. There's something called the Indian Administrative Fellowship. We actually got in office only in Jan, right? So in that sense, for us to actually start meeting and working together has only been 8 months. We launched this report in Feb called the People's Voice, which was about AI for MSMEs. There's just some more stuff just to show you that we're still the main thing is we're still young, right? And in May, we did this event where some of you may have come again, some of you were there, some of you were not there. But this is where, for the first time to the world, we said, look, this is who we are. This is what we do. this is our thesis, that 4 things that I talked about, use case, infra, community, cheerleading, is something that we presented to the world. And honestly, since then, it has been really intense, because sort of once we announced this to the world, there's a little bit of press coverage, there's a lot more incoming interest, right? And frankly, we were not prepared for it, to be honest. Again, OCC, we managed to do this pretty significant sort of launch with a lot of partners who are interested in the idea of an open network for compute. And then we work with a bunch of people, right? So whenever somebody comes in, we try to do this thing at the office. We work with, but then this is the most fun part of what we do. We take, we have these small teams, we work in small groups, and then whenever possible, we try to go out and meet the team. A lot of us are virtual or not here. So once every while, I think Jan Ki Baat, we did this in last month, right? Oh, it was only a month ago. Okay. I think this is sort of the beating heart of what we do, right? Like small groups chasing an ambitious goal. So therefore, these meetups actually mean a lot to us, to like really bring people who are interested in the same thing together in the same room, and to see the magic sort of emerge, right? Like frankly, we do very little after that setup, right? Like once it's all set up, it's all you, it's all the volunteers who make this come alive and go everywhere. So we're very proud of all of these that we've done. We should have kept count, but we are. I think we've at least done like a dozen of these, if not more, right, for most of our working groups. And so therefore, some stats on where we are is we're at 198 volunteers, and that when I saw this number a few days ago, I was very shocked, and I said, I've definitely not met 198 volunteers. We should be doing more of these, meeting everybody. And also, I think somewhere in the slides where I'll come to this is that I think once we're failing at this, I definitely don't know the volunteers, but I'm also very worried how much the volunteers know about us, right? As an org, not me individually, like what is happening, what is doing. So the main purpose that we thought we should do this, right, today, was that I feel like while all of us have been working in our own isolated teams and buckets, we haven't really done something like this org-wide, which with 198 people is hard to do. But we'll do our best to do this and make this a regular feature. So today is the first one. So this one's a little different. We're doing nostalgia, we're doing reflection or whatever, but hopefully from the next month, this collabs will be a place where really there's a day and this moment is going to be about you folks, right? I will come in and present some sort of like, okay, here's what we did last month. But after that, we will shut up and we will try to sort of make this about you. This would also be a space where I would like, if the community has anything they want to initiate, right? If there is a project, an idea, something you're working on the side, something you want like help with, etc. If you want to do something and you want a program and time, right? We would hope that this becomes the space where something you want to do, you can propose and we can sort of figure out together how to get it done. If there's anything that sort of I can say with confidence after about a year of doing this, is that the power of this model is not that we have anything great, like we as in the staff or the people who are paid to work here or not. It's the network that we have from all of you folks, the energy and passion you bring in, right? And there is no reason why we have any special position or authority for us to tell you what to do and only our ideas. I think it's going to be even more powerful if we're able to listen, absorb and like take the best ideas that come from the community and amplify them. It's just that we didn't have a channel to do it. So this is the point of this event that we're trying to do. It's the first, and like with anything else that we're trying, it will not be perfect right now. So please tell us how we can improve and how we can make this better. I want to do a little more like, I mean, that was nostalgia, those photos we had this, but I just want to sort of like abstract away a little more and talk a little more about things that we've learned. One is AI is limited by compute. I'm actually kidding. It's limited by our imagination for a better future, right? Like even today, yesterday I had a meeting with Physics Wala, which didn't even occur to me as a company that I would need to go talk about possible AI solutions with. My logic was, this is a company that trains, mostly built with engineers, trains people to go to the top engineering colleges, right? The person there has a cult-like, guru-like status amongst these engineers. I assumed he would get best engineering talent and like whatever, and they'd build, right? Like what will I do there, right? But in that discussion yesterday, when they were trying to tackle a very important problem, which Love and Tanisha and a few of our volunteers, others, they're in this, in fact, probably our largest volunteer group, which is Project Sukoon, right? And somehow they managed to reach out to Physics Wala, and turns out they have a problem that while they're busy helping people prepare for exams, they are observing grave instances of pressure and stress on these students. And the problem is, the same problem as Tatkal or whatever, that everybody seems to have the same stress at the same time. Even if you had counselors, you would not be able to serve everybody, right? Because you can't hire so many counselors only for a week or a month, right? What do they do otherwise? Why should they take up a temporary gig? So they're obviously looking at the power of AI to scale that sort of intervention. And it was only in that meeting that it seems that they realized that it's not just that you have a chat bot for where instead of a counselor you go out and reach to them then and you're replacing that person. But what if you could use AI to do a lot more sort of preventative solutions, right? Like stop this when it happens, right? Their going theory right now is that it's not the students, the parents, right? Like the environment at home which leads to this. It's an interesting insight from a teacher who's taught many, many students. So they went back out of that meeting with questions like, okay, wait, why can't we use AI to call the parents, ask them questions, figure out if this is the kind of parent who's going to give you stress or who's going to be your friend and mentor and support, right? And then basis that, target the interventions, right? So I was surprised that there are people out there who are in the business and daily who still aren't able to think of the ways of the future and stuff that we are very lucky to get a chance to do because again of people like you. Today morning, Neha and I had a call at 8:30 a.m. about how we can think about evaluations, right? And so I feel incredibly lucky. I think I get more novel ideas pass by my sort of workstation or whatever than even a VC in the market would, right? Because I am hearing ideas that are unconstrained by whether they are fundable by venture capital. I'm hearing ideas that are powered because people want to see that change, right? Pick any project, right? Like the reason why that's happening is because people really want to see that change. They don't actually care if it makes money or not. They're like, how can I make this real, right? That's an incredibly, I'm incredibly lucky and blessed to be here, but it's incredibly powerful and I think comes from all of you. I hope that this organization becomes sort of equipped enough to give everybody a chance to realize that aspiration, that dream. And we're trying to get there. We're failing a lot. And I want to talk about some of that also, which is, I think the next is that growing up is painful. It is, you think you'll do something this way. Like earlier, I think David and I, or then David, first David and I, then David or I, and now maybe sometimes one of us was talking to every volunteer, right, who's joining. And we're trying to figure out with you how to set it up as a win-win. How do we make this work? What's really driving this for you, etc. So that we could find something that A is in your interest, B meets our visions and goals, and therefore works out. It's hard. David, while we have those active volunteers 198, what is the number of signups? 1,840. So we are not. No, it's not. I know. No, it's not applause worthy, right? It's not because honestly, what for the 1,600 something people who are not somehow in our ecosystem, I have no way of knowing whether their idea might even be better than everything else we're doing or whatever, right? Like I have no way of knowing. In fact, if anything, the most persistent of you are here, right? Which I'm very glad for because so you've either chased somebody down or followed up or whatever, and then we are like, oh shit, we're sorry. In fact, that was my next point. I'm sorry if we dropped the ball. If some of you are seeing this online, or if some of you see this recording later, and you're like, these idiots, they never responded to my email, or I filled up a form and they didn't do anything. We're just overwhelmed. We're trying to figure out how to get past it better. I feel confident that we will get there very soon. At least be able to sincerely tell you yes, no, or respond, or tell you that we are busy. Right now, I think a lot of that also gets missed. So we are sort of improving our processes. We can't be as high touch, therefore. It may not be that you talk to one of us, but there is like the org is growing. The people in this room, we want to make sure that you are also empowered and ambassadors of this organization. So if you can help us find the right people, if you see a problem or you see something to work on together, please bring people in. We will be launching a bunch of things that makes it easier for you to do that. Yeah, so we are where we are because of you, right? And I think we've not been able to communicate this well and implement this in the way we sort of do things, which is that projects still initiate, I guess, from one of us who are able to know how to do it, etc. Something that we're launching today with just the you folks, etc., but also we'll improve upon it a little more, is going to be how we end up starting projects or how we do things. We want to make it very easy for you to understand how and when and what you can do, what projects make sense in the context of People+ai, what not, how anybody can initiate this and how we can get the ball rolling. The hope is that we amplify what y'all can do through People+ai and the network we create. So we'll also try and make it easier for you to connect with each other and find things. We are at a loss, we have a WhatsApp group, but it's quite honestly very noisy. We're still figuring out a bunch of this. If any of you have some help for ideas for how we can organize this, etc., please remember, even me, for example, I can't do Discord and Slack and Google Chat and whatever. So if you can figure out a way to manage this easier, if anybody has any ideas, please let us know. The other insight, right, one of the key things that we realized, and I want to hear this from you also, validate this, is that the real power of this place is that you find like-minded people, right, who are motivated by the same mission. Volunteering, while has its own challenges, you probably have a day job, you probably have something going on in your life, if something else comes up, you may have to drop off. Fair, very fair. But the advantage is that because this is a volunteering role and people who are doing this are not doing it for the money, right? There's no title bump, there's no whatever. What we are often left with is a group of sort of very, very self-motivated, well-meaning folks. And I think that is a joy in itself, or at least for me, whenever I meet a team and I see the stuff that they're willing to do and the details they're willing to get into, the hours they put in, it is just incredible for me to sort of see and observe. And I hope that that has some meaning and value for you as well, and you find that in the groups you're working with. Let us know what we can do to sort of keep that magic alive and keep it going. This was, we went for a team thing at Loco Bear very recently when we did a sprint week in office to fix up some of these systems, and this is from there. This is just David put some funny images. Yeah, I think this is more updates what we do, but this is what I was talking about. We're trying to launch this People+ai wiki where we will basically we've already put in one draft of what we believe is the way in which AI will change particular subsectors, horizontals around data, compute, etc. And we're calling it a wiki because we genuinely want this to be a conversation. We want this to be a living document. We want this to update as we learn more things, as we have more insight. B, we want people to come and challenge what we are saying, right? If you disagree, even better. If you agree, there's a like button, but if you disagree, come change, edit, fix it, suggest an alternative, show us what's happening. We want to cement this as the fifth thing that we do, which kind of joins all the dots, right? So I've spoken to you a little bit about this use case infrastructure, right? I think I also want to establish one more thing, right? People+ai is a sort of a house of experiments. I think the reason why even that physics wala conversation or something else, some CEOs of some major companies also come who we've done these sessions with, and they go back oh, we didn't think of it that way. That's happening because of that, which, the discovery of use cases is that we just do experiments, right? My encouragement to all teams of volunteers and anybody, even if a fellow comes in and says a project, is, okay, just get started, right? Just figure out a way to get together, just think about why you're doing this, write down this very simple document or charter that we call it, and just get started. Which once you start doing and get somewhere, we start realizing what the infrastructure to build is, right? Unfortunately, both the use cases that didn't worked, the infrastructure that we tried and then we changed the shape of, this knowledge also then lives and dies with the volunteers, right? And when they leave, it leaves. So we're trying to A, stop that. B, these things at the bottom, the community and the content, right? While we did do a few events and called people and did meetups and use this, once we had the office space, we were able to do a few more things. We hosted OpenAI's VP of Applied Engineering, Srinivas, when he was here, did a fireside with him. And we asked him some very candid questions, etc. was all very good, but we weren't doing enough of this and we weren't sourcing stuff back from the community. So I think what we've done now is hired Ashwin, who, by the way, was one of our earliest volunteers and now is an employee. He's just joined. I think it's not even been a month. Where we are going to sort of start sort of really focusing on this as well and try to get this up to speed. That's what is coming up. The idea is that if we find people who are working on problems, even if the problems are not our own or not our focus, we want to put those also back into the wiki so that the wiki becomes the one place where you can find out what AI can do for this country, right? Like the only boundary that we'll try to put is India, but otherwise all use cases, startups that are working on something, etc. If we can just put it all here, right? And all knowledge, all blogs we create, all our learnings, we just want to start putting that back there so that there is one place where you can learn about what is happening, what people are trying, whether us or people outside. And from that, find something for you to do and then, like get somewhere involved in this cycle. So this is, I just want to put this out there as to where People+ai, what we are thinking the next few things for us to do are. There's basically, we keep hearing from everybody there's not enough data. So data for India, which we just call Project 10 trillion tokens, we're still trying to figure out what that is. Scale known use cases like Jan Ki Baat, we can ask Neha and Nishant about it. Build some beachhead use cases plus infrastructure for government scale. I think one thing while now we're starting to understand what it can do, cannot do, what technology is good at, how it works, we're now trying to go and find something where we can make it work. We're probably looking at healthcare as the first primary area where we focus and just find one thing. So far it's looking like, doing opportunistic screening for TB, but I don't want to call it. I think it's still very early. We'll see where that goes. Become a much better media company, right? We try and do things beyond that capital controversy. And right now, at least even at People+ai, I would say that the content we put out is essentially like about ourselves, right? Like it's navel gazing. Like we did an event here, you see our event, right? We did something to this. We changed that a little bit by starting to do volunteer recognition posts. We want to sort of improve the quality of content. And if you also are peeved by this, that there isn't enough good sort of writing or good knowledge about what happens inside of companies and how they build, please tell us if you can contribute and do something there. And finally, we're starting with the first of this, where in that WhatsApp group, somebody put up a paper and said, we should build something like this. So I said, why don't you do it? And they said, okay. And so therefore, we are seeing at least one such initiative where the idea and everything has come from somebody I don't even know, which is good, which is one measure that I want to make sure that, like, when I had thought about why I'm doing this, People+ai, etc., I wanted to be sure that, I'm very lucky. I got somehow introduced to a bunch of people who gave me the freedom and autonomy to go chase very big dreams. The idea is if we extend that platform to, all of you and beyond, who knows, right? Like what can happen. So I am just here to sort of extend that chance. I think I got it and I benefited from it immensely. I'm hoping to do that. So some person whom I've never met is about to do this, but I'm hoping that we can sort of figure out the way to do more of these. So that's what we are planning to do over the next few weeks, months. Just today we did a review of our Q3 goals. We managed to do them, most of them, 80% of them by August end itself, which is, so I was asking my team, are we being not ambitious enough? I think these ones are fairly hard to do, so we'll figure out how we do that. For a lot of the ways in which AI can help India, step one would be that our computers need to understand us, which means language understanding, accent understanding, understanding of context. So language understanding, I think we're starting to get to a good place where they at least, like if you even type a sentence in Kannada, Telugu, Marathi, whatever, it'll work. Again, the more spoken, more popular languages work better than the, let's say some tribal languages of Madhya Pradesh or something in the Northeast, where there's not a lot of speakers, especially if those speakers are not online a lot. Second, even if you do get language understanding, a lot of people can't read or write. I say this a lot in my talks. the official literacy stats in India is 1 in 4. The bar for literacy is as low in some places as can you read or write your own name in any language. You take a task which is even reasonably complex, like reading a newspaper, that 1 in 4 will probably, that 1 in 4 is official, remember, right? Government published stat. That 1 in 4, when it comes to a complex task like reading a newspaper, filling out a form for yourself, right, like applying to a bank or whatever, maybe 1 in 2. If you want to, this is reading or writing, literacy. But everybody speaks and everybody understands. If we have to get to any sort of use case where this helps a lot of people, we have to be able to understand in voice, in whatever native accent, what they are saying. The other aspect of understanding what they are saying is if they are talking about something that is not on the internet, right? Like local stories, right? Like in your town or village or whatever, there is a person who's very well known, right? And if you say something or use a turn of phrase or whatever which is about that place, then that would never be understood, right? Somebody gave me a very nice example of this, which is how do you describe pain? So a headache, right? In Hindi only, the various, depending on where you are, you may say something like, "Mere sar mein dard hai," right? Sar dukh raha hai, right? Like there's all of this. But then somebody might say, "Mere sar pe bhains chad rahi hai," right? Which is, there is a buffalo on my head. Yeah, literal translation would mean that. But the context of understanding that I am trying to refer to a headache means that that kind of data and those kind of examples need to be collected. So out of complete thin air, from nowhere, we pulled out this number called 10 trillion tokens, right? Because we're just saying that at least, like, that's the order of magnitude of the problem here. So it is estimated that, all of you know what a token is. I'm guessing you're an AI, and I'm not explaining that part. It is estimated that current existing Indic language tokens are only in the order of magnitude 100 billion. So we're talking about a 100x increase. So that's the idea of the first one. Hey, this is the fundamental philosophy of what we have, which is why I wanted to do this day today, which is that AI won't change the world, you will. It is literally the thing that we put on the outside, if you noticed, on your way in. And that's why we wanted to do this day today, right? Like, and going forward, this will not be the format. I won't be speaking this much. We'll try and give you, if you're doing this every month, some sort of updates, what's happening, what some group has done. We'll be also doing project updates. Today, we're doing a very short demo of DigiForm, I think. But we'll try and do more like project updates so you can engage the project, know what's happening, but also community-led initiatives. So like next time, if you have an issue or a topic or whatever, we'll send out an email, fill up that form, and then we'll figure out with you and what we can do. But what I thought we'll use the rest of our time for is, I just thought we'll ask, right? And this is just as valid for the people online, sort of just 3 things, right? Like from you, we would love to hear. We can go around the room. I can force everybody to talk. That might take too long. So if you want to be the first to volunteer, raise your arm and talk about any of, like, this is just a set of 3 questions roughly what we have. But if this or anything else, we're very happy to listen. We want to sort of figure out how to be more about you, more about what we can do for you to have this experience be a lot better. So please give us feedback and so that we can learn. I also would really appreciate if you called out what you liked, because this is one thing I've learned over my journey of building things is that feedback, often people think about what to fix, which is true. If we're doing something desperately wrong or like really wrong, we would like to fix it. But I would say another strategy of growth is like to double down on what you're doing right. Like if there is something that we think we can do right and that is of value to you, I would rather do more of that than to try to fix something that maybe we're just not designed to fix. So either of those 2, if you have something to tell us, please. Honestly, we just want to leave time for you all to mix with each other. I think, get to know each other. I think all of you, at least the people I know, are wonderful folks. And I think just mixing and getting to know each other, who knows what might come off. So anybody online or otherwise who wants to go first?
I think what I'm getting out of People+ai is it's giving me a space to sort of deal with issues that I have a personal connect with. So I work on project school, it's very close to my heart. And honestly, for a month and a half, I was thinking do I have the qualifications to be working on any of these projects? And then I joined the group and I was just eager enough to ask them questions. And they were like, hey, do you want to like lead this one bit for us? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I think just being able to know that my past doesn't matter as long as I'm eager now and I can show that I'm using my agency to do something is something that I felt empowered, I guess. What we could be doing better, we being People+ai, I think learning sessions for volunteers, because open source and DPI knowledge is very still niche, especially within this block of Core Mangla, right? So
Yes.
that mindset shift is very necessary, because a lot of, I think, friction we face in our project is everyone is very MVP oriented in India,
Yeah.
whereas these projects are like a marathon. And people don't remember that UPI took like 4 years of like failing before it happened. ONDC took 2 years before it became anything that people even knew about. So I think just bringing in that narrative, to bring in that mindset shift within volunteers, would maybe incentivize for them to like treat this as a marathon and not as a sprint, and stay more engaged long term. And I think problem I wish, I'm sure we will all solve, is going to be around climate, circularity, and how to sort of do it in a way that is interoperable. And it's something that I have a thesis on that I'll bring to the group for sure at some point. So
Yes. Thank you so much. Um,
Extreme newcomer to this board.
yeah.
That way. This is my first meeting.
Yeah.
So about this, I cannot answer the first and second question.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so but about your last question that you asked, this is sort of a very nice intro that covers the required depth and the breadth.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
When you add the project updates that you said you'll start from next time,
Yeah.
it would reach the non-financial part of update to the board.
Yeah. Fair. Okay. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I will see the project updates. The idea really that I hope that we can do with the project update is that if I have to come give you an update, right, it becomes a very transactional thing, etc. Why I changed it today also, while you were planning on doing a 10-minute thing or whatever, I changed it and said, no, let's not do it this way. Let's do it a little more thoughtfully, because I would like that to be a point of engagement, right? Like I want, like, look, I understand that none of you are getting paid, right, to do this. You're here because of intellectual curiosity, for motivations of like changing the world or like doing something long term. And I feel like a simple update on what's happening anyway should be on our website, right? If you do a physical meeting and you all are coming here and giving time, I would like it to be a much more deeper engagement where sort of everybody gets something out of it, like you're actually getting people's minds into the problem. Anyone else in Amit, Sarika is supposed to anyway share, but
So just to build on what you're mentioning, right? When people are around, how do you use the time best? I'll pick from like my experiences, organizations that I've been part of. Two sort of modes sound very interesting to me. One is like these demo days, right? Wherein a group of volunteers come and showcase what they've done, maybe pick a small piece that they've recently solved within that space, right? Whatever project they're working on. The other is something like Flipkart used to have architect review board. The idea was that twofold. One is you come and present not just the functionality part of it, but also the system design part of it, because a lot of volunteers here are like tech volunteers, right? And maybe you could do it like only with that set, or
that's actually a good point. Yeah.
And then so one is you present, get the feedback, and then if you have any open questions that you're struggling with at that point in time, you could also discuss those open questions. Because typically on a project, you will have maybe 5 or 10 volunteers, and maybe a couple of them are have that kind of skill set. But there might be others on different projects who can also pitch in.
Okay. Does that sound like good idea? How many of you would specifically come up for a technical review? Like how many of you like an architecture review board? Like how many of you would? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I mean, I would love that, because I feel like that's one place where people want specific help. And we are always left trying to matchmake, right, between who's good, who's bad. I'll go just sort of chat with Vivek for 5 minutes. I'll be back. In the meanwhile, these questions still remain. If there is something that comes to you later, please just text one of us and let us know. And we'll send you a mail about the programming next time. Once again, thank you so much, not just for coming here today or anything, but for the journey, for how many ever weeks, months, years you've been here. We really, really appreciate it. I'm going to hand it over to David to do and Tejas to do the demo, and then I'll get Mani and Vivek inside. I'm just going to be outside for a bit.
Well, first of all, thanks for volunteering. I am the one that spams you with emails. So if my email has now reached your spam box, sorry. But thanks for volunteering. I hope you've really been enjoying it in your group. This is the first time we're doing an all volunteers, and this is still not all. We have actually 150. So we're going to do two things. We have a volunteer that was actually wanting to share, not wanting to, we asked that she would share her journey with People+AI. One of the things we've done is we've actually shut down our volunteering track online. I'll tell you why. We had, on an average week, probably 50 people sign up to volunteer. And if I'm being very honest, we're a team of 6 people. So it's really hard to find every week 50 new projects or 50 new roles that people can meaningfully fill. So what we decided to do instead is that as groups start doing projects, wherever they need help, then we'll find referrals. So if you guys are working a project and you know someone that would do well in that project or would fit well, would benefit from joining People+AI, you can refer them. But that would at least ensure that we have a manageable amount of traffic coming in without just opening the floodgates. We could talk more about it, but at this point I want to invite Sarika to share a little bit about her journey, and then post that Tejas is going to come and share it for 2 minutes. I'm putting him on the spot, but we're going to show a DigiForm demo and he's going to talk about it for 2 minutes. So Sarika, over to you.
Thanks, David. So very quickly about me, I've been in the industry for about 20 plus years, and this is the first time I'm volunteering at something at this scale. And my journey with People+AI started a few months ago for JKB for a specific problem. Tanuj had reached out to me and my co-founders. And when we were talking about it, we got an invite to the Adbhut India event. And right after that event, I sent him a message saying I had been living under a rock. I didn't know there is so much good stuff happening and I would love to help. So that's how it started. And after that, I visited the office, met all the fellows. They just told me what all different things they were working on, and things just clicked with one of the projects. So I'm working with the Sthan team right now. And the ball just got rolling. It's been super exciting for me. Like somebody was saying, when I come here and I'm meeting people and I'm able to work on a problem which is potentially going to touch so many lives, is going to change the way India behaves, or the way India can access AI, digital services that we take so much for granted. That's a big motivation for me. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
We're literally going to show you a 2-minute demo and then ask for your help. We're really looking to take this to market. And so we're looking for partners that can give us feedback. Our job is to come up with ideas and build proof of concept prototypes that we can then show the market and get validation of. And that can be both good feedback and bad feedback, like this is terrible, it's not going to work, or this has potential. So we're going to show you the video and then post this at some point. Feel free to reach out to Tejas and myself, who are the 2 people from the team here today. We have a team of 15 people that have been working on this demo called DigiForm. So I'll show you the video and let me know what you think.
Welcome to the future of form filling. I'm excited to show you how DigiForm is revolutionizing the way we handle paperwork when it comes to college admissions. Imagine you're a student applying to university. Normally, you'd be staring at a daunting online form with dozens of fields to fill. But with DigiForm, it's much simpler. Let's start with this DigiForm landing page. Now, let's click on register now and enter our login information, name, phone number, email, and click submit. Instead of manually entering all of these details, you're prompted to upload 3 key documents. Your identity document, which is your Aadhaar card, your 10th mark sheet, and your 12th mark sheet. Now, I am going to upload a sample Aadhaar card, a sample 10th mark sheet, and E stands for cloud collection. Upload and process. As we upload these documents, DigiForm's AI springs into action to extract relevant information from each document. This process typically takes about 20 to 30 seconds, significantly faster than manual entry. And there we have it. DigiForm has processed the documents and compiled all the extracted information into a neatly formatted, downloadable PDF. Let's take a look. As you can see, the PDF contains a table with all your relevant details, name, date of birth, address from the Aadhaar card, and all of this academic information from your mark sheets. Everything is organized and ready for submission. A process that used to take hours is now condensed into minutes. DigiForm isn't just filling forms, it's giving time back to students and administrators alike. Here it is, simple, fast, and accurate. Thank you for joining me on this journey through DigiForm's capabilities.
So that as DigiForm. It's not only for college applications. You can do DigiForm for KYC. You can do DigiForm for visa. The typical visa application is your flight ticket, your bank statements, your hotel stay. You can upload all of that in a similar 3-box fashion, and your visa application will be done in 2 minutes. So the idea is basically how do we transform form filling, where if you already have pre-existing documents, you can just upload it onto an image reader or pass, and it will pre-fill your documents error-free. Since 1 in 4 people in India struggle with literacy, it will create accessibility so much more. So that's what we've been working on. Tejas, you want to add anything?
So there are lots of people. We have been working on this for a bit now, and initially it started from with this simple concept that we still have illiteracy in India, and so this problem of form filling is very difficult. And so, like, let's just try to solve that using AI. That was like the simple thing we started with. But then as we started working on this problem more, we figured out that filling the form is just like the tip of the iceberg. You know, like building like an app or a product for this is not going to be enough, because after, like Yashini showed, right, like the college application form is filled. What next? You know, like, because the organizations, their internal processes and operations are tightly integrated with how these forms are processed. And so just solving one side of the problem is not going to make any difference or make any meaningful impact as much as it would if we also solve it from the other end. And so basically then we shifted to a model of this open source agentic system. So like all of this stuff, all the agents that we have built, like they are in a form of open source library. And so that's like the agentic system we built. And so that can be used as like a building block. And so now we have the next goal is to engage more closely with organizations and partner with them to just try to work on one of their form filling problems.
We think it's possible in health admission forms, opening a bank account, applying for government schemes, visa applications, education applications, and those types of forms. If you have recommendations of organizations we can talk to, one to validate the idea, or if you feel they'd be interested in a prototype like this, we'll then start to work with them on a POC. So we have a few versions. This is a college version, which, so there are a few value benefits. One is that it'll be faster and fewer errors. But we've built versions where you can even do it on a WhatsApp, where you can just click on upload image or even take a photograph and upload it to WhatsApp, and it'll do an immediate KYC. So SBI or banking, what we're hoping to do is be able to integrate it not beyond resumes. Right now, like the main use case for this, like LinkedIn, easy, like resume builders.
One of the main things that we figured out with this was validation, right? Like, I mean, the documents themselves, you can upload them from, and the extraction, and that is pretty like solved problem, as you said. The reason why we thought of building DigiForm was like this is an integration on top of DigiLocker, and so the ultimate hope here is basically that organizations who can use this in order to augment their validation process with the identity documents. Like that is the whole draw for this actually.
So our eventual prototype will even be fill this with DigiLocker, and you can scrape the information and validate it with DigiLocker. So you can do both the information collection, verification, and validation in under 2 minutes. We're currently at the phase where we're actually looking for feedback. And I know this will be a short conversation, but if we can connect beyond this and have like 20-minute calls or half an hour, just to really get in-depth feedback on it.
So what I want to do for the next 30-40 minutes is try to give you a sense of what we are doing at Sarvam, what our philosophy is, and show you some of the things that we have done, etc. We'll go through 3 things. First thing is agents. At Sarvam, a core philosophy that we have is to be able to do agents, not just enable conversations like GPT or something like that, but actually take actions on behalf of the user. We provide agents on telephony, we provide agents on WhatsApp, we provide agents within native applications as well. We'll look at a couple of examples. First, I'll start with the telephony application. Here is a case where, and this is an inspiration from Jan Ki Baat that is actually built by People+ai, where today there's a lot of business or governments engaging with a lot of end customers, but direct feedback is not available. Most of the grunt is actually available in the form of Google reviews, social media posts. But what if a business was actually able to listen to its customers at scale, call them, understand them, and use that to unlock new business insights, new business verticals, and stuff like that? So here is a quick demo that we have done with a very large enterprise company. We have redacted the names, etc. On how they are able to reach out to their customers for a new product that they have launched, and what is the feedback that they have received, and what can they do. Yeah, this is one of the examples of us doing this in Kannada, where the voice is still a bit botic, but example of a company being able to reach out to its customers, understand, and you'll see that the conversation is adapting to what the user is saying. It's not like there's a set of rules, if else, if else, if else. And while it's doing that, it's also able to extract entities in structured form that it's able to give back to its business. So they're able to store it in their databases, run analytics, figure out insights, and then what we can do on top of that. So that's on telephony. There's a bunch of other interesting things also. You can also check out on our website. This is an outbound call. There are a lot of inbound calls coming for customer support, people asking for cancellations, refunds. How can you power all of those use cases, etc. The second one is on WhatsApp. Very quick demo. This is basically for a company called Sri Mandir, where users want to be able to go talk to the business, understand what pujas are available in different temples in India, book an entire puja end to end. So again, it's not about telling what pujas are available, but understanding the user's query, getting the catalog, showing this, doing the entire cart and payment flow. We're able to do voice notes again, all 10 languages. So this is very interesting. We actually figure out these UI elements on the fly. Based on what the user has said, what is the right way to show it. So here the business is asking what is the name on which we have to perform the puja. The user has given the name and they're sending a payment link. The user has follow-up questions कि यार कैसे होता है सब कुछ. He first talked in Hindi, now in Tamil. And you can actually do payments. The confirmation comes again back in WhatsApp. So imagine this like what is currently happening in an e-commerce app, an Android app, or an iOS app. End-to-end is actually becoming in a very natural language format. You don't have to do those button clicks, etc. And the TAM for Sri Mandir like application, which could be a lot of 60 plus people, gets unlocked a lot more. This is in your WhatsApp where you're speaking to your family, where you're sharing this. You can actually power end-to-end e-commerce applications. Again, a lot of interest on this, really good results on what we have deployed so far. This is very quick brief of what we are doing on agents and this thing. Basically enable conversations, enable actions, talk to your businesses. Talk to your backend, integrate with your APIs deeply, take actions and let customers actually do things. We are releasing a self-serve way to create these applications for any businesses by themselves in a couple of weeks. So if there's any alpha testers who are interested, you can also reach out, where you can come, just type out English language instructions and you will have something like this up and running in a few minutes. For voice, it's 1 rupee per minute. We are extremely the best cost-effective thing that's out there in the market, and we are able to do this with all the optimization that we do. We have a full stack. We own the GPUs, we own the inferencing layers and everything, the fabric that we write. On WhatsApp, it depends upon the use case, length of conversations and stuff. Beyond 1 rupee per minute, there's no additional cost. Yeah. Significant cost saving compared to what you would be doing today. More than it's about cost saving, it's about possibility. There's no way you're able to go from 1 lakh to 10 lakh without being able to increase your manpower. So this is actually creating new possibilities of how you can reach out to customers, how customers can reach out to you at scale. Today, I worked in a lot of B2C apps where we shut down the call option and ask them to ticket raise karo, because it's most cost efficient, or you're using chat. There's a lot of customers. For example, the most premium form of customer experience is call. That's what American Express does. right? So they are like call karo hum baat karenge, but it's cost cutting because of which you say that ठीक है मैं agent को नहीं रख दूंगा. This is more than cost saving. It's about actually creating better delight to customers. It will automatically identify. I'll actually show you the next one. Yes. Sure. Noticeable. Yeah. Yeah, you can try it out. By the way, this is higher latency because this is a web call. When you do an audio call, it's faster. It's even faster. I think it should be around. It won't change from language to language. It's sub-second latency. It could change anywhere from 400 to 950,000 milliseconds, etc. We have seen sub-second latency. Again, I think there's some more complexities involved. For example, for the question that the user has asked, do I have to read a document to answer? Do I have to use your catalog to respond? Or should I respond directly? So based on... Yeah, it can go up to, let's say, 1200, 1500 milliseconds. It's very dependent upon what is the size of the knowledge base, what is the retrieval required. Cool, so that's on agent. The next one is APIs. Again, a lot of focus on making sure that while we build out agents, there's a lot of interesting applications that can be done if you're able to provide our APIs and models for developers to be able to build their own things. We have released this probably 2-3 weeks back. Infinite requests, more than 10,000, 15,000 developers have already tried and played around with it, given us feedback, building a lot of interesting applications around YouTube subtitling. Someone is having a YouTube video in one language, they're making it available in 10 languages. Someone is actually doing audio storybooks, very large enterprise who are taking this and saying that we have a lot of content, how can we make it into audio storybooks across different languages in India? Someone has a story of an author who wrote it in Kannada, how can we make it available in different languages? The primary thing being that maybe technology was there in some format for Hindi, but none of the Indian other languages were supported, or even within Hindi there's a lot of gaps. We'll just see what are some of the things. There are 4 different things that I'll talk about. One is Saras. This is our ASR model / speech recognition, how people are speaking and translating it into English. The second one is Mayura. This is translate, Indic to English and English to Indic. The third one is Bulbul. This is our TTS model. In the interest of time today, I'm not showing TTS, but you can actually go to our website and play around with it as well. The fourth one is parse, where you're able to parse any complex CSVs, Excel files, HTML, PDF into LLM-friendly format. I'll talk to those ones today. The first one is speech to text. Here also I'll just show a quick demo where you'll be able to see what the user is saying. The first capability that I want to show is language identification. We saw this in previous demos. This will land it more well. 2-3 things will happen in this. One, notice how the user is just switching language and the LLM adapts and responds in that language. Second, we are also able to pass this to a custom frontend that actually changes colors based on language. You'll actually see that the appointment got booked, an email was sent. All of this is live on our website today. You can actually go chat. It will not just talk to you. If you want a presentation, it will email you a presentation. If you just say that I want to book an appointment, it actually books an appointment with our team. Everything powered by our voice. So this is a good vision of how we think about agentic models. You're just talking to it and it does the work. You don't have to just keep adapting or learning new UIs and stuff like that. And you would also have seen the language identification thing where it's just seamlessly switching languages, can work across languages, relaying that input back to the UI so that you're able to do a bunch of interesting things on the UI. The model that we're talking about here is called Saras. It comes with automated language identification. So you can just speak in any language and the output is going to come in English. Yeah, there's another model that I will show towards the end where it's even better, even faster latency and stuff. This is still like a specific model built for this. The one that I'll show towards the end will have a lot more interesting things. Okay, so one is automated language identification. It can do anything. The second one is actually contextual awareness for our ASR models, where actually if you listen to this audio, it says, for example, listen to this audio. The user said something like, "Do hum karenge bas." And when you just give it to any of the existing models that are out there, it gets translated to saying something like, "We will do 2 buses." But actually with our models, where you're able to pass more context, with server models, you will see the output that it's in the context of an e-commerce application where the user is saying something like, the agent has asked, what is the rating that you will give? And there it said that "Do hum karenge bas," where you're able to understand that the user is talking about a rating. What they want to give is they want to give you a rating of, and then it gets adapted. So contextual awareness is one of the places where we really shine. The third one is domain intelligence. Again, I'll just play the audio so that you can see how a speech recognition works well. So the user is saying something like NSE, BSE. Instead of actually tagging it as NSE, BSE, which is the actual stock exchange names, it just gets it wrong. we are very domain intelligent. By passing the domain words and company names, you'll actually see that we get it right. Again, the difference between using any of the models out there versus server models, you will see significant improvement. Yeah, that's very quick overview. You can actually, again, for a lot of things, I'm condensing so that your guys are able to get a sense of what you're working on, but later on we'll be able to have a chat or go across the website. There's a lot of content available on what we can do. So 3 things we talked about. One thing is domain intelligence. Before that, we talked about custom domains that you can share information on, the context that you can share, and the first one is language intelligence, automated language detection. Then we'll talk about translation. Trying to figure out a better way to do this. Okay. Yeah, the next one is translation. This actually, I'm very happy to say this is the first time colloquial translation is possible in India. If you've used Google Translate and you've given a sentence like this, I can help you with sign up for courses. You will get something that's very hard for me personally to read. मैं कुछ ही चरणों में हमारे पाठ्यक्रमों के. So I think it gives you that. We are the first ones to actually introduce a colloquial model. It's much more simpler. मैं आपको बस कुछ ही steps में हमारे courses के लिए sign up करने में मदद कर सकता हूँ. So this is actually a code mixed model. The outputs that you get are in very colloquial Hindi. So when you're actually talking to your customers as a business, or when your customers are talking to you, or you want to put something, it's actually much more easier for you to continue to remain the context of these simpler words. So words like delivery, email, recipient, any of these things, much more easier for people to understand. As we have engaged with a lot of clients, this is one of the reasons why you clients have really preferred working with us, which is that it's much more easier to be able to use index services like this. Second, while you have done all of this formal versus colloquial and how you have made it easy to understand, there's still a lot of hard problems in Translate to solve. If you look at a sentence like this, the power of judicial revenue in the matters, these are very complex phrases, multi-part structured sentences that are very hard for you to translate. While a lot of what's specific, what we are doing is pre-processing. A custom pre-processing model ensures that you're able to take that and then do very well. The outputs are a lot more easier for you to read. I'll also show what the outputs are with colloquial models, where you'll see that जुडिशरी की फाइनेंशियल रिलेटेड केसेस को रिव्यू करने की पावर बहुत restricted है. It's much more easier and how users are actually used to be able to understand and consume this information than the traditional translate models that are out there. Third is special entities. Again, if you think about the context of the world that we live in, the entities that you see, the original sentence that's there here is COVID-19 pandemic has affected people's lives worldwide according to the CDC. The way that we read it out is we are spelling CDC as separate individual letters, COVID as a single word. So how we read it is very important. And when you actually give this to translate models that exist out there today, CDC ko anusar, it just makes it everything as some individual word. It's not actually able to identify these as 3 different letters, whereas COVID has become COVID, right? And with the models that we have, you'll actually see that it's much more better. CDC ke anusar COVID-19 is actually written in the way that we are actually able to use to. So a lot of custom work that got into identifying entities, custom pre-processing that we have done, innovating a lot in terms of colloquial is the primary alphas that we have in our translate models. Cool, awesome. So we talked about speech models, we talked about translate models. The other model that I'll talk about is parsing. And I think it's super important that we invest into parsing is because a lot of real world data is available in terms of complex PDFs, documents, nested, businesses that have circulars, newsletters is where a lot of information is stored in enterprises. But today it's not available in a format that's either conducive to LLM or in a way in which it's queryable for you to extract business insights. One of our efforts is, long-standing efforts is on how can you make this a lot more queryable, making it LLM friendly, etc. That's where we have a parsing model that does this. For example, take an example of this form. It's a complex shareholder report where it's saying that there's a bunch of columns, category of shareholders, number of shareholders, and you're trying to figure out how many shares are held in non-dematerialized form. It's very tricky for you to be able to figure out, or for an LLM to be able to figure out what this is. The first thing that we have done was we have given this to our finance team and asked them, hey, what do we read this? How do we understand this? They helped us understand, say that, hey, you know what, you have to look at total number of shares, you have to look at number of shares held in dematerialized, and the difference is what will give you the number of shares. We then tried this with existing frontier models out there. So we took this entire PDF, we gave it to frontier models, and we asked it to parse and give it in a format. We see that there's a lot of inconsistencies and important information being lost. We see that this entire column or row of data that's lost, the headings and subheadings are not parsed properly. We're not able to get the insights required for us to be able to do the calculation on top of. With Sarvam parse, we're actually able to do a really, really good job. We got all the headers right. We got the entire PDF parsed into HTML format extremely right. All the cell values with merged, demerged, column merges and everything done well. That when you actually query this into an LLM, you're getting the right answer. And this, I think, is significant from where we are with respect to parsing, what's available out there. And when I say frontier, it's really frontier models like GPT, Claude also get a bunch of these things wrong. And with Sarvam parts, we are seeing really, really good accuracy and a lot of interest in enterprise companies who want to use this to be able to extract business insights from their documents. Yeah, even multiple columns, images, being able to do that formatting. One very interesting thing was how we have parsed NCERT textbooks, etc. So I think we'll be able to, if you have custom things, just reach out on the specific documents that we have so that we can go through and then help you out. This is actually now also available for you to try out on our platform. I think we'll be able to pass typed out doctor prescriptions pretty well. Vivek, there was one question before earlier on. Will our speech recognition models, can someone imagine a use case where we'll be able to correct pronunciation of kids in some way using a speech recognition model?
So that's not what our speech recognition models are tuned to do today, but I think that I think if you ask me from a technical perspective, that is certainly something that models of today we can attempt to do that, but that's not what our models are focused on doing.
Okay, cool. So I talked about Saras, which is a speech recognition thing available in 10 languages. You can actually do automated language detection, being able to send custom domain knowledge, domain entities like ABB, NSC, that examples that we saw. Also in translation, where you're able to see colloquial translate for the first time, the custom pre-processing that we do. And also parse, where you're able to actually where you're able to parse complex tables, any PDF documents, multi-cells, etc. into that. All of these are now available. We actually also have a couple of other available, that TTS APIs and standalone ACE are also without English. So all of them are available for you to try out. I encourage you to try out. We are also providing free credits for you to sign up, go explore. We have a docs platform where you can explore all of these things, get started. We have a playground available for you to try out. We also have some best practices for you to figure out different use cases and how you can get the best out of this. The URL is not there here. Just go to sarvam.ai and you'll be able to get access to all of these APIs today. One of the other things that I want to talk about is Shuka. This is, I think, the first attempt at doing an Indic LLM within India. This is an improvement. I think someone is asking about how we can improve time within, improve latency within the ASR speech models, etc. If you look at today's models, most LLMs, the way that it works is that you take the audio. The first thing you have in is the ASR layer, which does speech recognition, what did the user say, convert it into speech. And then you have translate. For example, if it's an Indic Tamil Telugu model, the first thing is transcribe from Tamil audio to Tamil text, then Tamil text to English text. Then you're sending it to an LLM, the LLM is parsing, and then you're getting a text output. With Shuka, I think our aim is to be able to condense all three layers into one and build an audio LLM. And this is also, I think, sort of equivalent how ChatGPT for a voice mode in some sense work. It's audio to audio, but we are doing the first half of the layer audio to text, where Shuka based on Llama 3 will be able to do this. We'll go through a quick demo. Yeah, so that's a brief demo of what Shuka does. Actually, if you see, super powerful in terms of combining different layers of ASR, translate, the actual LLM output into one. If you have seen, actually, the latency with Shuka is supremely good, 120 milliseconds. Hardly notice, just starting outputting as you finish it. It's about 6 times faster than what you would see. And not just fast, it's also more accurate. We have seen really, really good performance across all Indic languages in terms of the output that it can provide.
So you were showing like Llama 3 only but you might be having one layer to convert into text, right?
No, that's the whole point. You're passing audio tokens into Llama 3.
So it is faster than GPT when I see.
I don't want to say, GPT is a bigger model, so I don't want to say that this is obviously, we put an audio front end on top of Llama, right? That's what we done.
Have you just increased the chain, or is it just the same chain, the processing remains the same?
What do you mean by chain?
Like the complexity of the model, is it more parameters? Or
No, it's exactly this. So the Llama, we basically have adapted Llama to use audio tokens, right? Normally you are using text tokens. Yeah, it's not fine tuning. It's not, you can't just fine tune that. But most of the Llama parameters are actually frozen. We're not changing any Llama parameters. You're just getting it to understand audio tokens.
Yeah, I think Shuka is actually available on Hugging Face for you to try out and also fine tune. There's one more model actually, Sarvam 2B. Maybe Vivek, you can quickly talk about our work on Sarvam 2B.
So Sarvam 2B is actually a model trained from scratch. Okay, so that's a difference which is there. It is that one. The previous model was you actually put an audio adapter on top of a Llama, and you could actually put audio on something else as well. Sarvam 2B is actually, our view is small models are the way to go, as I'm sure which Mani would have told. So we wanted to create a kind of a model which is, focused, which is actually pre-trained from scratch with a large amount of indic tokens. And it's a small model, it's a 2 billion parameter model, but it's trained on 4 trillion tokens of indic languages. And it has got 10 languages, it has a bunch of English, bunch of code, all the stuff that you would think in training an LLM, right? So, and the bottom line is that if you look at it, there's 2 things about it, right? It's a model which for indic tasks, okay, what is an indic task? Indic task could be maybe translation, could be summarization in Indian language, maybe entity recognition in Indian language, those kinds of tasks. It is probably an order of magnitude faster than even a Llama 7B, okay, and less expensive, and also better, okay, because it has been trained with literally almost, I would say, 40% of the tokens are indic tokens, 50% of the tokens are indic tokens in the training of this model from scratch. So 2 things, it is of course a smaller model, which of course makes it faster, and also the tokenizer is about 3 times more efficient as compared to the tokenizer of Llama or something like that. So therefore, if you are looking at, you are saying that, oh, I got from the previous BERT style models in Indian languages, I want to use those kinds of things. This is obviously will come and be much better, and costs are much smaller than an LLM. So that's why you want to use this kind of model.
And this is also open source.
This is also open source. See, this is a pre-trained model. It's not even fine-tuned for anything. You can do it and you can use what you want to do with it. But of course, then you are responsible for what you do out of it. We of course take models, we make specific fine-tunes of those for things that we want to do. But that, yeah, of course, that is under our control, right? So that's how we look at it, right? We are saying we want to give it to the community, but then community needs to take the responsibility of figuring out the right way to use it. It's a 2B model. I mean, think about it. You can run an 8B model on whatever. You can run it on Ollama. Has already been ported to Ollama, so people can run on their laptops. Do those kind of things as possible.
All right. Cool. Thank you, Mani, for the demo. I thought we had Vivek here, and with this section, I just thought that there are specific technical questions that people are already asking, but I just thought I'll bring Vivek here to ask him 3 very specific questions from my end. After which I want to let you all ask sort of more, if you have any more broader questions to Vivek or sort of any other burning questions you all can ask. But I just want to kick it off with introducing Vivek first. Vivek Raghavan actually used to work at AkeStep, which is sort of the parent organization for us as well. Vivek's background is that Vivek was PhD at robotics.
Chip design,
PhD at chip design at CMU. Done a bunch of things till he found his way at sold companies, etc. And found his way in the Aadhaar team, where he was the head of biometrics. Did a lot of work in figuring out how we can uniquely identify people. It sounds obvious, fingerprint, whatever iris, but at the time, the problem even of there was no database before that of the order of magnitude of Aadhaar, right? Like the biggest database which used even fingerprints was the FBI database, which had whatever suspected criminals from around the world, which was at 5-10 million, I guess, in that.
Maybe 50-60 million.
Maybe 50.
Yeah, but still, certainly orders of magnitude less than what we needed to do, right? So therefore, yeah.
So Vivek helped set up everything about that problem. It sounds obvious in your mind that, okay, fingerprints and this, it can work, but it's not, right? We have to actually do it. So the design of those algorithms, getting them to work on the devices themselves, getting them to work in the low connectivity, low compute environments of India, etc. Vivek retained that position for as far as, when did you actually quit Aadhaar?
By the way, still
advice just in case. But when did you officially quit being active? So you joined 2009-10.
Yeah, so I was 2023. Just
wow.
Literally. So
14 years as essentially a volunteer, right? Even that was not there was not a paid position or anything of that sort. So Vivek has really been in the business of serving the country. First question. Why did you leave all of that and start Sarvam? What prompted? What's the origin story?
I think, as part of the kinds of things, probably in 2019, I started getting involved in in kind of Indian language AI. And we started with actually the Supreme Court translating documents. And I knew I'd been working in deep learning, but not anything related to language or anything like that. In Aadhaar, we're doing a bunch of deep learning projects, but which we could talk some other time. But so the first time we started looking at how to get involved in Indian language AI. So one thing led to another. And then what happened was I got associated with after the Supreme Court. We actually built this software called Suvas, which is used by the court today to translate documents and orders and things like that. And then I got involved with the Bhashini project, right, which was through Ekstep. I was advisor to the Bhashini project, pretty much set up most of the things that happened in the Bhashini project. And also I became mentor to AI for Bharat, right? So therefore we helped basically get funding to actually build open source AI in Indian languages. And that was where, so therefore, so I was quite involved with Indian language and AI, and I kind of, at least at some level, understood the techniques and things like that, which people needed to, and we were focused on getting data, building models, doing all those kinds of things. But then, ChatGPT happened, right? And frankly, even though I was working in the field, I would say that I was kind of surprised. Okay, what happened here? Just what happened here? And I think that at that stage, I said that, okay, this is something which is obviously very important. And for a while, I said, okay, my natural instinct, because for many years I've been kind of this unemployed, open source volunteer. So therefore, I said, okay, maybe I will do it through philanthropy or through kind of government and those kinds of things. But I realized that this is moving too fast. That's at least from my view. And I said, you can take two things. You can either give gyan or you can try to do something. Been an entrepreneur a few times before, but still this was, after many years is very different to start, and that's where we started. And in the end, the trick in starting a company is you need to have a co-founder who's better than you. So therefore, I found that too.
Pratyush, and Pratyush, you were part of the AI for Bharat.
Yes, we were part of AI for Bharat. We'd known each other for a long time and stuff like that. And so then when we looked at that, then we said, okay, maybe we should do this. So it's been a year now.
So tell us a little more the name Sarvam, and therefore that initial concept that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to transition into, it's been now roughly a year since you all started up, from the time that you all started in the vision you all had to now.
Mm-hmm.
A year into a very sort of dynamic field. Now you actually have products and you're actually taking them out to the market.
Mm-hmm.
What has shifted? Like, what have you learned in the year? So the sort of vision, and then what has shifted in that, or in practical realities of.
Yeah. So the vision was very simple, that we want to have generative AI which 1 billion people can use. I mean, that was, maybe I had gotten anything less than billion I could not take, but
you got to be used to that problem, right?
Used to billion problem, but at least that was the mission statement of what we wanted to do. And but what that meant, and that's, by the way, the whole idea of the name of Sarvam is for everyone, right? That is the intent of what we were looking at. And I think that as we go through it, right, there are, and I don't know whether Mani talked about it or not, but as a company, we think about how 4 key design principles, right, to think about. The first thing is, we think that in India people interact through voice. Okay, that's a core principle that we said, that people speak in their own language and they speak in voice, and that's what we have to focus on, right? And that's one of the principles that we thought fairly early on, and it is still focused. The second thing which we had some idea is that we want to focus on small models, because though maybe compared to in Indian standards, we did raise a fair amount of money, but I think that from a global standards, there are these frontier models, right? And you have a Claude or you have a GPT-5 or whatever it is, they have the kinds of resources and the kinds of things that they have is at a very different level than what we have here. So then we have to pick and choose what we do carefully, right? So therefore, and it's a very simple thing. If you have to do a POC or you have to use a model once a week. Use the frontier model, right? Don't think about anything else, right? But when you have actually found what you want to do, a smaller model is always more efficient, more accurate, and kind of less global warming.
Which also translates to less cost. I mean,
less
like
cost,
even
less
if
cost.
even if
And less latency.
less latency.
Yeah. So I think all of these things are very, very important, right? We want to build systems which are real time. We want to build systems that are, not that expensive. So all of these things, this became, and that conviction, right? Well, we always thought we were not going to build like really large
AGI.
models. Yeah. The challenge, of course, is interesting is that one thing which has changed, right? When we started, right? I mean, and this was, I think AI for Bharat had maybe 50 billion tokens or 100 billion tokens was the amount. That's the amount of open source Indic language data. And what we realized, and even though we were kind of involved in the creation of that, firstly, that is not of great quality, and it is something that is, and it's still tiny, right? I mean, anybody who knows training LLM from scratch, with 100 billion tokens, you really can't do much, especially if you need to retokenize things, which by definition we have to do when we're talking about building Indic models. So then one of the things that we said is, how do we get more data, right? This is the challenge that's there. And I think that, interestingly, I think LLMs themselves provided the answer to that question. We said that we trained Sarvam to be with 4 trillion tokens. And where do you get those tokens? Actually, all of them are synthetically generated, or a vast majority of them are synthetically generated from very, very clever kinds of distribution of data and stuff like that, which is really the way that if you want to do that, and that's true for any, I mean, you took language as a domain, maybe many of you are thinking of other things as a domain. That's the same thing about how do you, I think synthetic data is a very important, and of course you have to do it right. I mean, you can read even a paper in Nature where they say that you take the same data and you do it, synthetic data, and it'll cause collapse, right? Model collapse.
Garbage in, garbage out.
But the bottom line is that, having said that, I think that this is one of the most important, that using models to generate data and then using that data to train other models, this is something that is one of the key things that are not talked about as much, but that is actually one of the important things that are there.
That's really helpful.
And that's something which we didn't know when we started.
Okay. So you are saying that the bottleneck has now shifted. It's not data. Is that a confident enough label, or?
Let's see. In the end, how you create the seed of data is always critical, right?
Yeah.
Which is that's something that, and I think quality of data, the more and more that you realize, it's not volume, it's also quality. And if you get the quality right, the data being diverse, the data being this thing, those are, and actually representing the distributions of what you want to be able to do, that's very, very critical.
Very. And what next? Like, that's my third question, right? How do you start? What has changed? And then what's next on the horizon for Sarvam?
See, we've just announced our products. We've got to make these work at scale. I mean, clearly, we are serious about trying to get 1 billion people to. And even if you are a couple of zeros less than, so we haven't even reached there yet. Yeah, so therefore,
if I put a thing, gun to your head and ask you, what do you see by end of 2025? How many lives touched with Sarvam? What do you see? How far will you be in year 1 of launch?
Where we will be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where we want to be, I think that we'll certainly be, I'm hoping that we are doing tens of millions of minutes a day.
Okay, I had promised that I will only ask these 3 questions, and that's all I want to do. I want to leave the floor open for all of you. Please ask what you have to ask, Vivek, and then there is some food and some celebrations outside that we'll be going to. Any questions from here, or if there are any online, you'll have to just indicate to one of us if you want to ask something from there. But first, the folks in the room, anyone? Questions for Vivek?
I have one question. So I visited your website and I saw that there was a product specifically made for legal purposes.
Yes.
So I was just curious on, do you have plans of like looking at other niches like that? I believe there is a lot of scope for knowledge workers, especially in the government sector where processes are slow. Legal being one of them. So do you see that, and are you also targeting other niches like that?
So, I mean, as of now, legal is the only niche. We may pick up some other things depending on the situation. But yeah, it was just opportunistic, and I think that we thought that we could build something interesting in that area, and so we did that. But and it still meets with the. I mean, while it is a law product, it is very much based in Indian law, right? It is basically taking all the notifications from RBI, from SEBI, from the courts, from the income tax tribunals and things like that. But in the end, it's fundamentally an agentic system that basically queries many sources and actually gives a very considered answer and generates research memos, other things like extraction of data, doing redaction, all kinds of things. So that it's something that it does. So I think that if people are interested, I think it works pretty well. So therefore, even though I say it myself, but
Fair.
yeah.
I think Sarvam wants to start becoming, if I'm understanding this correctly, a proper sort of tech provider, sort of, like that API layer or whatever, to solution builders. I think they are taking that focus on strategy on like being at that layer so that then businesses can then add value, etc. Even the slide, I don't know if, again, I was not there, sorry, but you have that, your data, your compute, your AI, right? Like, so I think they are kind of trying to be at that layer is what I understand.
I think there are multiple strategies, right? I mean, there are strategies where we are providing APIs of things. There we are obviously providing the agents themselves as people can use, and then we are actually even kind of saying, hey, we'll put our stuff on an appliance, and that's actually the cheapest way that you can use your use the AI, right? If your scale is large enough, right? So, yeah.
As you showed in the first use case, right, where like you can provide a customer ask a question and then agent will do a stuff. So if I ask for that, so is it like something you're offering that this is the end-to-end service and then you can take it up and then customize on your own and then you build a team, or it is something you will be owning end-to-end and then you'll be saying that okay, we'll be doing your calls for you and this is something we'll be providing. So how will that work out?
I think we want to be able to make sure that these are all self-serve. We have an authoring platform that's available. It's not available yet, it's in beta, so if someone is interested for early access, you can reach out. But the idea is to be able to put this out so individual companies and organizations can start building these experiences by yourself. It's an end-to-end platform where you can come author, check out the inferencing, try out how it works, connect to Exotel, and actually start doing calls at scale. So it's an end-to-end solution that we put out in the
So that is where like my question that I was asking, like how do you monitor the quality of it? Let's say somebody has signed up, I am being a company, I've signed it up, right? Now let's say I take up the service. Now when I test it out for few calls, it might be working fine, but let's say when I do it on scale and with people with different accents, different locations and different part of the world or India, how do you ensure that it is still maintaining the quality?
There's two parts to it. One part is ensuring guardrails, like it's answering properly, it's not answering something harmful, toxic, etc. There's a part of guardrails which ensures the conversation is meaningful and useful. The second part is how do you actually get business insights, what are customers saying, what can I record, etc. The second part is solve an observability layer. So our platform automatically comes with analytics, where after conversations you will be able to ask and say, for example, you would have seen that how many people really talk about quality being the thing. So the agent has asked, did you like quality, fragrance, or price? And the user in that example was saying that, hey, no, I really like the quality, it did good, I did. So you're able to extract all of these business insights and you can actually visualize them and understand.
I think partially also the Neha's question is evaluation of the model itself. Like let's suppose the sentence is not constructed well in Hindi, or like you were saying how traditional models fail on the colloquial thing. Is there any sort of thing that you're building in or thinking about evaluation in general for models?
See, I mean, we obviously have internal things that evaluation, but when we are talking about, so there are two kinds of things, right? Supposing you have a specific product and you have certain things, there are certain ways by which you can make your experience better, right? If whatever you're saying something, so you can have context and hot words. And so one of the interesting things about our speech recognition is that actually uses semantic context. So you can say that I'm talking about perfumes, and it'll improve the accuracy of fragrance as an ASR, okay, which is something that is different.
Yes, yeah.
So the interesting thing is that by understanding context, there are lots of things that we do to basically make the quality better. But that is true in any system, that when you test on a certain thing and the real distribution in the field is different, But the interesting thing is that the analytics are available, and you will see that the person is not able to complete the intent, right? And therefore, that you have to use that to understand what the issue might be.
What could be going wrong,
Yes,
and then
yes.
come back to. Okay, so you're saying that this is sort of you are providing through the authoring platform and the metrics for people to start improving.
Yes.
And that's part of your developer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There will be some parameters which you can take, let's say if it is not going as per the metrics are not meeting, so we can customize it.
There are some things that are available out of the box, like let's say fun and due, how many people talk, what is the average call duration, are they coming back and stuff like that, where are they dropping out in the conversation. There are specific business insights about this conversation that you want to ask a questions about, cues me and all this. Those are custom insights that you can provide. Our platform comes with some out of box things that will help you monitor, plus custom things that you want to ask.
I have a question around accessibility, and I'm sure you must have thought about this during Bashini. Most of India, like we talk about 4G and 5G, but a big part of rural India is still doing 2G, 3G. And I think 2B is something that's very interesting. You can run on like local devices. So in terms of solving for lower bandwidth of internet, is that something you're thinking about within Sarvam? Because, especially because you're a for-profit organization now.
No. So, I think we are for-profit organization, but I think that we still come from the open source table. We wouldn't be. I don't think any other for-profit organization in India is open sourcing things like this. I think so. Therefore, we do think about the ecosystem we play in. For example, right? Many of these things you're saying when you're saying 2G and 4G. That's why we want this to be a phone call, right? So think about it. 8 kilohertz phone call is what is happening here, right? So, and that is something which certainly is more accessible than most things that you can think about. So, it's something that we all, I think that we're always looking at ways that we can make more things accessible within the constraints that we operate. I think my investors will
need some numbers to start flowing back in. But to Shashwat, to your question, also I think one of the things that this is where we come in and we work with them often on ideas and stuff, which is, one of the last things I discussed with Pratyush is, what if we go build, People+ai finds people to build a box that can maybe have one of these models running locally, but it's a box with 4 directional microphones, speaker, right? Built as cheap as we can, so that maybe we can go put this in the classroom and we observe what's happening in the classroom. There's some AI that runs in the classroom locally, right? And this could be giving the teacher feedback. It could be that the teacher is teaching a topic, but there is an engagement activity or like a fun exercise that you want to run in class, right? So then at some point she presses a button or whatever and it starts that activity in that class, right? If we come up with the hardware in the box, right, can we collaborate with you for the model and the thing and then build application? I think these are the kind of things that we also, and I have found, like, to Vivek's point, the very few people are open to the ideas of doing stuff that may not necessarily be profitable immediately, like there's a big business paying for whatever. Because if I was a cutthroat AI company, right, I would first make sure that the top 100 companies or the Forbes 500 or whatever are my clients first, before I reach the kind of long tail sort of things, which I have, my observation is not the attitude at Sarvam, right? And it's therefore easier to work with them on some of these ideas and projects. And even the first projects that they actually were building even before they were getting their data together and getting these models out was like Tuition Anna, right? Was essentially, can we give every student a tuition teacher on a phone call? So you look at the QR code of a particular you know that NCERT textbooks have those QR codes. So using the QR code, can you initiate a coaching session on that chapter, right? Like that was something that they came out with in the architecture and how do we do this. So personally, I think that's sort of where it is. But the challenges are twofold, right? If something is just not there yet, and I think Vivek I'm just giving a second-hand lesson here, is that for a lot of the stuff they did in biometrics, in facial recognition, the Aadhaar server and data center design, you take a bet on the fact that the trend line is going in a certain way, right? So yes, today accessibility and connectivity is a problem, but if you then do a worse off solution, right? So like,
like there are so many solutions that people say, oh, it needs to work on a feature phone, right?
Yeah.
You can take one view is that, oh, I need to make dumb my solution down that it works on a feature phone, right? I mean, so a phone call actually is an example of something like that, but I'm just saying. On the other hand, you may say, well, maybe the trend is that a smartphone is going to become the thing. So therefore, yes, there may be some exclusion in the short run, but in the longer run, actually, the fact that you made your design simpler because you said, I'm going to look at that, may actually be in the end improve, the integral of accessibility over time, right? So therefore,
Yeah, in fact, like, I mean, I take WhatsApp as the classic example of this in India. Is that the same literacy problem I was talking about? A lot of people can't read or write, but they're using WhatsApp. They're using WhatsApp by sending photo, by sending voice notes, by doing voice calls, by doing video calls. And WhatsApp is still the most used app in India. Right? Like, I think 700 million customers active a month. It's ridiculous, right? That's more than half the country definitely using WhatsApp. So, so sometimes, this is, I think, being opinionated and taking that bet it's kind of worked out in the past.
No, my opinion isn't really rooted in rural context. It's rooted in the fact that internet access is one button for the government, and currently, like at any given point, India has had one state which doesn't have access to like even 2G. Right? So it's a fair point.
Fair point.
That's a very fair point, but I think there's some answers that live in the political realm also, which you have to engage with. I'm not saying that means it's out of scope, but you have to engage with the fact that the government should not have the button. Not that our solution should not be internet, right? Like I would say that that's for all of us to aim for. Because you can't shut off the internet. And that too in Jaipur and all, they used to do it for board exams. And some kids are going to cheat in board exam, so we'll shut off the internet of the entire state. Like that is ridiculous. We should not tolerate any government that thinks that way.
See, in the end, I think the trends, you see where the trends are, right? Both, I think bandwidth is going to improve over time. And as well, the devices are going to get more powerful and the LLMs will be crunched towards to do what they do. So all of these trends are there. So you see, I mean, we don't need to do that much. I think things will happen in all the directions that you're saying. When people talk about hallucinations, are from the model itself. And models hallucinate, right? I mean, and frankly, if you want to try to make any model, I can make it hallucinate. That's not the problem. But in reality, I have to build systems around models. Okay, and I think and if you actually give context, the chance of hallucination is actually dramatically reduced. So I think when people, while yes, of course, if by definition LLM is a compression of language, compression of information. So therefore, no matter how well it is done, there will be some cases. But when you look at systems, and I think you can build systems, especially when you're building purpose-built small systems, okay, the risk of hallucination, is actually significantly lower. And you have to understand what you are competing against, okay? When you're competing against nothing, okay, and that's something that when you're competing against nothing, that lack of access, right? We are talking about access, is actually much more than the risks of these things. And I think that when people use this especially in kind of resource constraints environments, these arguments which are, I think are theoretical and not real world in some sense.
This is to be, I'm just going to reminisce, right? Like in 2017, etc., when the Aadhaar thing reached the Supreme Court also, this actually I realized is just a philosophical point of view, right? Do you prioritize doing no active harm wherein you did something and that caused potentially some problems, right? Versus do you get frustrated by the fact that nothing is being done, right? Because status quo is that people are dying of hunger, people are not able to access medical knowledge, people are not able, right? As a company, I think now Vivek may have more liabilities and more problems, right? But as a government or as a whatever, right? I think if it's your job to do this, I think there's a cost to doing it. The cost, in fact, is much easier to dissipate. And this is the problem which you ask me with a large part of the bureaucracy, that we've, through a lot of oversight and whatever, we managed to neuter our bureaucrats where there is zero upside to doing something good. But if you get even one thing wrong, you lose your job, get transferred, you you're even in jail or whatever. So what ends up happening is the people that we've appointed to solve the worst problems in society that we really need to solve actually don't want to take any decisive action because of this, right? So we have to find a way to even talk about this in a manner that says that, okay, we have to acknowledge that this problem exists, but we can't stop doing stuff because. Saket, last question to you.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to ask, from perspective of practicality, where do you see the trend going towards generality or customizability, or some intersection of both maybe?
Maybe elaborate a little more, Saket. What do you mean by that?
But like with the research which is going on, or like the solutions which people are bringing in, like is there a greater possibility of something very powerful, general, like an AGI coming in, or is it something going towards very custom solutions which are customized, like specific for product or to use with a problem which we build?
No, I think it's not either or, it's both actually. I think that if you look at it from a global, I'm not talking about necessarily as India or something like that. If you look at it from a global perspective, I think these bigger general models they're wonderful and they're getting better, right?
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that. The ability of the kinds of things they're able to do is quite fascinating, right? And I think that will continue, that trend will continue to do because we're seeing that it is still getting better, right? That is that's the fact that it is still getting better, and so therefore that is definitely going to happen. But I think comes back to how often you want to use something, right?
Yeah.
If you want to do something which is, I want to do whatever, cancer research or whatever it is, maybe the most advanced model is probably the right thing for you to be looking at. But if you want to do things that everybody does on a daily basis in a easier way, right? Then I think that the models we have, small models we have, are plenty good today. We just need to make them work well, but I don't think the size is the issue. And then when you are actually focused on something which is very narrow domain, the odds of actually going here and there is actually, it actually is reduced dramatically.
I want to poke you to sort of give an answer and not explain it, okay? Not long. But do you believe we will get AGI, say, in the next 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. Nice. As promised. Okay. All right. Folks, we're going to go outside. We have a little, cake.